Now, I am an avid photographer. I love taking pictures, especially when I travel. Like when I travel, all I want to do is photograph everything I see. And thanks to digital photography, that means I take thousands of photos on my vacations, right? But it didn't always used to be so easy. Some of you are probably too young to remember this, but back in the day, we had this thing called film. And when you would take a picture, basically you'd have your camera, your film camera, and you'd have to open the back up and load this like film cartridge in, much like you do with an SD card. A little bit more complicated, but what have you. And then you'd close it up and you'd take a picture. And then you couldn't look at it. You had to wait days or weeks to find out what that photo looked like. So you would think someone like me would then take thousands upon thousands of photos of one thing, except for the cost. Digital is cheap. Film, not so much, right? But really, if you think about it, all you need is one perfect shot. And when I travel, that is what I am in quest of. Even if I take 1,000 photos, I'm really just looking for that one perfect shot. So 15 years ago, I traveled to France. And I went to Paris and Versailles and all of that, but I also went to Mont Saint-Michel. For those of you who don't know, Mont Saint-Michel is an island with a cathedral at the top of it. And it is the location, it's been the location of pilgrimages for thousands of years. Initially probably for holy reasons, and now more for people like me who want to take photos of it. Now, the coolest thing about Mont Saint-Michel, other than the fact that it's, an abbey at the top of this big rock island that has a little village around it with an enclosed medieval wall, is that hundreds and thousands of pilgrims died every year trying to get there. It's so awesome. Now, part of the reason it's really cool is because, it's surrounded by water. It's an island, right? So some pilgrims just drowned because back in the Middle Ages, they weren't good at swimming. But part of the cool thing about it is that the water isn't there all the time. When the moon wanes, the water goes out, the tide goes out. So then it's just, you could just walk on the ground to get there, right? Except when the moon comes up and the tide comes in, it comes in at the pace of a racing horse. So can you imagine these pilgrims, like they think they're like almost there, they got this, they're gonna be to the abbey soon, and then this running horse of a tide comes in and then they drown to death. So that's not the coolest way to die, getting to Mont Saint-Michel though. The other thing is when the water is out, the ground around Mont Saint-Michel is not all solid. It's filled with quicksand. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And again, back in the day, they weren't so good at getting themselves out of that quicksand trap. So I went to the Mont Saint-Michel, and I didn't die on my way there because they've put in a paved road, right? It's a little bit more convenient these days. And then they've paved an area in front of it where you can park your car. So we drive in, we park the car, we go into the city, we take a tour of the cathedral, I take 1,000,000 pictures of the abbey, and the abbey's pretty cool. But the really cool thing is the island itself, because it looks like this ice cream cone of an island, right? But it's all rock. So I want a picture of that. So I wander off in search of this one perfect photo, and my friend wanders off in search of, I don't know, food or something lame like that. So I go out on the walkway, on the road, and I take my wide-angle lens and I take a couple pictures, and I don't know what they look like, but they seem like they're probably pretty good, except that there's all these cars in the way, because to get the shot of the whole building, you have to kind of get far enough back that there's cars in the way. So I say, okay, I'm gonna move as far over in the parking lot as possible. And I go to the end of the parking lot and I take some pictures, and they're probably pretty good. But again, in the bottom left-hand corner of my shot, there are cars. So then I step out onto the rocks. There's these rocks that they've used to build the road. And I'm on the rocks and I take a couple more pictures, and they're all right, I think. But it's not that perfect picture. I have not found the perfect picture. So I step a little bit further out and a little bit further out, and I'm on the sand, and that's fine. And I keep backing up to get this one perfect photo, and suddenly my foot just keeps going. And before I know it, I am up to my thigh in quicksand. Now, I thought about screaming for help because it's kind of scary when you step in quicksand, but then I thought probably all the people in the parking lot would think I was a stupid American tourist, because I was a stupid American tourist, especially in that moment. So I remained calm, I didn't move, I froze, and I didn't shout for help. Instead, I just kind of inched my left leg further out onto firm ground, and I slowly pulled my right leg out, making sure to wiggle it to keep my boot on. My leg and my boot came out of the quicksand successfully. I survived my experience with quicksand. I climbed back up on the rocks, and there were quite a few people watching me and shaking their heads. But I didn't care, because when I got home, I had a perfect shot.